Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Hey guys, Rod here to Better Way to Farm, where we increase yields and improve profits. Because I'm reading an article right now on the internet, it said the Senate Ag Committee members are saying that 1 in 5 farmers are at risk financially. Opens with a trifecta of high input prices, high interest rates, and depressed crop prices have the senators bringing focus to the economic stress for farmers. I want to have just an honest, candid conversation. And guys, this is not here. We're not going to have a debate. But what we try to do here is to make people think and to make people ask questions. And I think it's time to take an honest look at things. You know, I've been talking, I'm a little concerned. I've been concerned for over a year. I was 20 in 1980. And so living through the 80s, that decade in my life was challenging and difficult. I, like a lot of people, had made a lot of mistakes. And I was well deep in debt. And interest rates on notes, even though they were locked in, they would call the note and then raise the rate. They would rewrite it for you, but of course it went from 6 to 10 to 14 to 18. I think 18 and a half was the highest that I had. And we were able to pay out of that. However, a lot of people didn't. And I've been saying subtly, quietly, not in an argumentative way, that I felt like perhaps we're standing closer to 1980 than I really want to be. And I got everybody telling me, oh, it's totally different this time. All this land that's selling is being bought by investors or it's being bought by cash. And I'm watching these farms sell for $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. And I'm sitting here going, boy, I don't know. I'm hard pressed to think that people have got that kind of money just sitting around. And some probably do. I don't doubt that. And some is going to investors. I don't doubt that either. But as I start looking at this and I read this article, and what I want to do, guys, is I want everybody to step back, and I'm going to ask you to remove the emotion from farming, because it's very emotional to us. Those of us who love farming, it's emotional. And sometimes it's more of an emotional deal than it is a business deal. And we got to think about this. I just want everybody to step back, take an open mind, and consider some things. As they talked about these high input prices, these high interest rates, and depressed crop prices, we got to say, okay, what is it that we can do about this? Well, obviously, the high interest rates are going to be a problem. And as they have crept up from 3% to 5% to 8% to now we're seeing some of the stuff at 9 and 10. And guys, that changes everything. That makes the wheels come off the bus. And we really can't change the interest rates. However, maybe we need to be looking at how much we're borrowing and what we're borrowing for. The depressed crop prices, they stink. There's no question about that. And we can go into all kinds of conspiracy theories about why they're so far down and why they are the way they are. And, you know, it's no secret that I'm not always a big fan of the USDA's crop numbers. We just seem to always miss the mark, and we very rarely miss it in a way that helps the American farmer. You guys know, and a lot of you don't agree with me, but I am not a big fan of the board. I think any time that we're trading one bushel of corn multiple times, that supply and demand has very little to do with the marketplace. I still wish that if you sold a bushel of corn, you had to deliver it, and if you bought one, you had to take delivery. But that's another deal, and we're not going to change that either. The high input prices, we do have some control over. Coupled with this, I read a survey here last week, towards the end of the week when I was coming home from our trip. And one of the things it talked about was I was startled at the number of growers who said the economic times and the prices are having zero effect on different machinery purchases, that they're going to continue to go ahead and purchase machinery. Now, for the guy who said it ain't going to have any effect on it because I ain't doing it, I get that. But that's not what this was. This was people, and it was a rare, almost 50% were saying, we're going to go ahead and do what we were going to do. And I am very reluctant to lock in a 9, 10, 10.5% loan on a piece of equipment. And sometimes we get to banking on what's going to happen. You know, one of the things in the 80s that got us in trouble was that, and it's true, they ain't making no more land. She's just going to go up forever. And then we watch farms that were bringing $2,000 an acre start selling for $200 an acre. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I have no idea. As Karen and I were talking today, there is so much manipulation of all the markets, the currency markets, the interest markets. They're so manipulated by forces beyond our control that outguessing them is going to be very difficult. However, suffice it to say, I think that we can't change the interest rates. We can't change the prices. I think what we have to do is start adjusting the things that we can control. Control the controllables. You guys know that I was talking to what grower, and he literally had his nutrient salesman tell him the only thing better than 200 pounds of 1846-0 would be 300 pounds of 1846-0. Now, mind you, that guy had lost $100 an acre last year, and so he wasn't looking to double down and make any more commitments on that. And guys, it's time to have an honest conversation on inputs. We need to be reviewing everything. Do we need to be taking a look at how are those traded hybrids performing for us? I see guys who are using traded hybrids and then they're still having to use insecticide. I see guys using traded hybrids and they're still having to use some kind of a chemical to take care of what the traded hybrid's supposed to take care of. Maybe we need to I'm not saying any of this is the answer. I'm just saying it might be time to put everything out on the table, spread it all out, and look at each piece of it individually on its own merits. Because sometimes we get so ingrained in doing things exactly the same way that we just won't think about it being different. I've talked to 3 growers since the first of the year. All 3 of them are selling out, and they're not being forced to. It's not guys who have failed to get financing. It's guys who have literally said the same thing. If I can't do it the way I'm doing it and make good money, I'm going to quit. And guys, I think one of the things that needs to be out on the table is change. Change is a constant. It's the only thing that doesn't change. Look at the changes that have taken place in my lifetime from 1960 till now. All of the things that have improved and gotten better. And the fact of the matter is, guys, change is going to continue to come. And sometimes the technology is going to come and it's going to look really cool and we're going to be able to be better than our neighbor because we embrace something. But the question is, one of the things that needs to be on the table is, if I take this technology, does it translate into an improved balance sheet this year? Am I going to make more money in 2025 because I do whatever? Because I buy this piece of whatever kind of computer equipment? Because I do this kind of soil testing? Because I do whatever it is? The question has to be, is this going to make me more money in 2025? And you get guys saying, well, and I want to be long-term. Make no mistake. I know that the yields that you grow in 2025 will not be sufficient in 2035, that you're going to have to maintain your soil and continue to build it. I was talking to Chris that he had a guy who had been with us 1 year, and he said, well, I didn't see much of an improvement in my soil test. It was a very small improvement. And I chuckled. I mean, I literally laughed out loud. I think, I look at Chris's P1 levels jumping 60% since 2016. So it took 8 years to get a 60% increase in those. And that's a pretty significant number, but it takes time. It's a process. And that same guy who said, I didn't see much with you guys in 1 year, had been in a build program for, 20, 25 years. And he hadn't gotten there yet. And so I think that's one of the things that we have to take a look at. We got to say on the table, is this build program working? Did I build for 30 years and so therefore it's built? Now I don't have to build anymore? Or are we still in a build program? Are we still saying, well, I think better than 200 pounds is 300 pounds? And guys, I don't know about that. One of the things here, and I understand that, this article talked about the people who were hammered by the hurricanes, by wildfire, by droughts, by weather-related events, and I get all of that. That's the risk that we live in. That's just our world. But one of the things they talked about the fact that these farmers are going out of business due to sky-high input costs and below break-even commodity prices, and they need help. And that's true. I don't want to see people losing money. But let's just get real for a minute, please. And this is probably not going to be popular, but I want you to think about it with an open mind. Maybe the fact that we've let this land price get up as high as we have, and maybe part of it was bought with old money and they've got the money in the bank, and maybe some of it was bought by investors. But what makes it attractive to investors? I'm going to suggest that if we wouldn't pay $450 an acre cash rent, there might not be those investors that would be quite so quick to jump all over that. Now, I realize a lot of these guys are parking money here because they feel like land is going to continue to go up. And maybe it is and maybe it isn't. I don't know the answer to that. But guys, here's what I do know. That's self-inflicted. If I'm paying too much cash rent, and too much can vary by the area. You know, you can be in an area where $200 is too much cash rent. You can be in an area where $450 is too much cash rent. And so I think that we need to, I have a good friend named Greg, and he called me, we had an honest conversation, a really good honest conversation here back in the fall. And he said, I need to talk to somebody who's not emotionally invested in this. I need an opinion. He said, I am thinking about letting go of 400, 500, 600, I don't know what it was, maybe 500-600 acres. And I said, well, talk to me. Tell me more about this. He said, I've lost money on it for 2 or 3 years, and I can't continue to do this. But he said, everybody I talk to here, all of my friends, all of my neighbors, they're all saying, well, you never let go of ground. The goal, we got to farm more acres, got to have more acres, got to have more acres. So we just keep paying cash rent, hoping that the market comes back and we can sustain it and it can support us. And he actually come to the conclusion, and he went to, 2 or 3 landlords, and he went to all of them and he said the same thing. Guys, I love doing business with you. It's been a pleasure, but we can't make this work. And because we can't make it work, we're going to let go of this 600 acres. And we're going to take the time that we were farming that, and we're going to try to do a better job on what we have left on the other 1,800 or 1,900 acres. And we're going to make more money per acre, but we're losing money on these farms, and we cannot continue to do that. And here's the funny part. The landlords all came back and said, we'll work with you. We like you as a tenant, and we'll rewrite these contracts to make it in a way that it'll work. And I think the fact that he was ready just to say, I'm out, I'm not going to do this anymore, and look how it changed his life. But see, the problem is we get one deal where they've got a farm and they put it up for bid, and it's in an area that's pretty water reliant. They need rain pretty frequently. And somebody pays 420 plus bucks an acre for it and locks it in because they wanted to farm 800 or 1,000 or 1,500 acres. I don't know what it was, all in one chunk. And that's cool. That's everybody's dream. We all dream of having 2,500 acres in one piece, right? Whether we own it or rent it. But the fact of the matter is, if we can't figure out how to make it pencil, my experience has indicated throughout my whole life that even if it worked on paper, even if I took my ink pen and I saw that it could work, but it was close, it didn't always work. Sometimes even when it looks really good on paper with my ink pen, it still doesn't work. But here's what I know. At no point in my life have I ever taken an opportunity and penciled it out and it failed to work on paper, and then lo and behold, it made me a lot of money. That doesn't happen. And I think as we start pushing the pencil on these things, and we've got to say, and don't get me wrong, and one of the quotes by Senator here, it's really dire in farm country. Guys, I know that. Our heart breaks. We did a webinar here a while back on surviving these low commodity prices. But guys, I know that these are not great times. But I know the first thing that we have to do is we have to come together and we have to control what we can control. We cannot expect the taxpayer to give us a big subsidy so that we can go out and buy new equipment that maybe we could put off for a year or two. We cannot ask them to subsidize us paying 400, 500 bucks an acre cash rent. Guys, we have got to come to grips with reality. And I'm not saying anything here that's great, and I've got a couple of things that you can implement that will hopefully not be controversial. I'm sure somebody will take a shot at it. But here's the thing. There are things that we can do. But number one, let's look hard at our cost of living. Let's look at our habits. Number two, let's look at our machinery and control what we're going to do there. Number three, let's put everything on the table and say, is this going to work? Is this technology going to help? Number four, is the technology within our seed? Is that paying the way? Or are we buying something because that's what we've always done, and we're just going to continue to buy the triple stack, 6-stack, octagon stack, and yet we're still buying chemicals to do what the octagon was supposed to do? We need to take a look at all of that, okay? And then we need to take a hard look at our practices. Do we really believe, have we been falling for this? The only thing better than 200 pounds is 300 pounds of DAP? Is that what we've been doing? Is that how we've arrived at where we are? Maybe what we need to say is, actually, let's do a real soil test. Let's do the right thing and do exactly what it calls for. because I would bet $10 to a donut for every one of you who's got a problem with phosphorus, there's 10 that have a problem with micronutrients and they're not addressing them. We hear the same thing come in over and over and over again. Man, you don't want to be deficient. Don't rob your soils of potassium. Don't rob your soils of phosphorus. Okay, I agree with that. But somehow it's okay to rob our soils of zinc, manganese, copper, iron, magnesium, sulfur, boron, all of those things. And we're going to ignore those. You don't want to be deficient in anything. And so the time has come, guys, to say every dime I spend has to have a purpose. And a purpose is not because it's what everybody does. A purpose is not because it's what I've done for 10 years. A purpose is not because if I can't do it this way, I'm just going to throw in the towel and quit. A purpose is I'm going to spend this $10 and it's going to get me this $25 or this $35. That's a purpose. That we're thinking through what we're going to do. I was just, Karen, I don't know why she was doing it. She was running numbers on something today. I had the distinct privilege of getting to spend almost a whole day with Karen. I haven't had a chance to do that for a long time. It was a great day and I loved every minute of it. But she was talking about what would happen if somebody could cut their nitrogen usage, just say from 1.0 pounds of nitrogen to 0.6. Well, I'm using 65 cents a pound because that seems to be the going rate for 28%, about 65 cents a pound for nitrogen. So I'm going to assume you're growing 200 bushel corn. Some of you doing 3, some of you doing 150. I'm just going to keep it simple and use 200. So if I'm growing 200 bushel corn and I'm using a pound of nitrogen per bushel, that's obviously 200 pounds. If I can drop that down to 0.6, now I fall back to 120 pounds of applied nitrogen. So that 80 pounds of savings at 65 cents a pound, I just improved my profit margin by $52 an acre. $52 an acre. Guys, there are a lot of things that we can look at that can do that. It's kind of like I watch the government. They spend $1 billion here and $1 billion there and $10 billion over there. And you know, them billions, they add right up. That's how we've arrived at this tremendous debt that we have. But sometimes we do the same things. You know, we spend $52 here and $56 there and $92 over here and $12 over here. And all of a sudden we just got rid of $400 an acre. Guys, what if you find 3 ways to improve your profitability? $52 an acre. That's $156 swing in income. I hope you didn't lose more than $156 an acre last year. If you did, we really need to talk. But I hope that that would move you from not in the black to back in the black. And that's the bottom line, guys. As I look at this, I read this, and they're talking about that there's going to be forced farm liquidations. And guys, I went to some of those and they suck. And I don't want to see anybody do that. You know, the high cost, the high interest rates, the low prices are the perfect storm. You may be hard pressed to find a lender who's willing to refinance a farmer that is in a deep hole, and they understand that. This is all factual. Calls for federal aid are intensifying. That I'm not sure is going to happen. And the bottom line is, I don't want to sit around and have a plan. I don't want a farm plan. I don't want to plan my grandchildren's ability to farm on the federal government. Reagan was correct. The scariest words in the English language are, hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Anytime we're hearing that, we're going to be pretty uptight. And guys, I think sitting around, we've watched all of the things that's happened here and seeing how much we can count on them is not good. Guys, we're an ag. We've always been self-reliant. You know, we're the ones that when the blizzard comes, we dig each other out. We help each other out. We go make this happen. We don't wait on the federal government to come and do something for us. We're the ones that when bad things happen, we come together and we help our neighbors. We help each other. You know, I got some friends from Indiana. I know they took a load of hay down to the people in the Carolinas there that were hammered by the hurricane. And I just look at all of the things that happen here, and we're self-reliant. And I don't want to get in a position where we're waiting on the government to do anything. And I think the fact of the matter is, guys, you know, and I said we've ran the markets, but I watched the markets go up 30 and down 20 and up 10 and down 30. That goes back to my whole concept of the day traders, and we can talk more about that another day. However, I just want to say this. I think we need to be making our plans on that $4-ish corn and those $10-ish soybeans and pray that it gets better. I hope you make a plan for $4 corn, and I hope it goes to $5.50. I hope you make a plan for $10 beans, and they go to $13. That's going to be awesome. But the fact of the matter is, if we can learn how to be profitable at 4 and learn how to be profitable at 10, think how profitable we can be at 550 and 13. And let's work on that. And then let's be prudent when it gets back to 550 and 13. Let's keep living like it's 4 and 10. Because if we do that, then we can build those cash reserves, and when that farm ground comes up, we can purchase it. I just want you guys to think about these things. I'm not saying I have all the answers, because I don't. I just think that there are things that we can control, and I think there are things that we have done in order to contribute to this, and we need to stop doing those. Let's talk about how not only do we just survive in these lower markets, but that we actually come out and we thrive. That we come out and we make this thing happen. Because here's what I know. Every one of you is fiercely independent. That's one of the common denominators. Every one of you is willing to work hard. Every one of you wants to succeed. Every one of you, I hope, wants to pass this on to future generations. And I hope that we can work together and that we can make that happen and that we can be exceedingly successful in these times. So guys, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. I hope that you just take this and you think on it and you roll some things around, you put everything on the table and you say, this is what we're going to do different. If we can be of help to you, reach out. We would love to talk to you about how to redirect fertility dollars in a manner that will get you more money. Guys, thanks for your time. We really do hope that you're having a better day.